Morgan.
And I'm Jess.
And welcome back to another episode of Just Gay Stuff podcast. Today we have an exceptionally talented guest joining us. If you're anywhere on the queer TikTok space, you've probably seen her amazing content. She's the star writer and creative mastermind behind TikTok's first ever queer musical series, Girl Crush. Please welcome the amazing Ali Morgan.
Woo! Thank you for joining us, Ali.
Thank you both for having me. Honestly, such a pleasure to talk to you.
It's such a pleasure.
We're humbled to have you join us because, as we just said before we introed you in, it is so important to have queer things coming across the internet and especially out of Australia.
Yeah.
We are humbled to talk to a fellow creator today that has really made a splash online.
I think that's what kind of really drew me to you. I remember I saw all the Girl Crush stuff originally and I was like, oh, this is amazing. And we were in the midst of, starting our podcast and everything. I was like, oh, wow, this is like a very female run series. I was like, oh, how incredible. We need to talk to this woman.
Yeah. Lauren was like, we need to get her. Yeah. Let's talk to Ali Morgan.
Oh my gosh, that's so nice. Thank you. It was actually very female run. Like most of our heads of department on our creative team are female identifying. So yeah, and actually majority of our creative team is queer too. So it's like queer, female, like majority queer, majority female run film crew, which is actually kind of unheard of because it's quite a male heavy field. So
yeah, that's something that's not really talked about, is it? We talk about in business spaces everything is very male led,
dominated.
Yeah, male dominated industry.
Male dominated industry.
Thank you.
There you
go. And, even in these queer creative spaces, we still need to make so many more steps towards having equality in those spaces too. And so that's awesome to be able to have such a big team of queer people.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Thank you. Yeah, it was definitely important for us to make sure it wasn't just in front of the camera, like it was behind the camera as well.
Yeah, I think that's super important, and that's something that we, I guess, try and include to our sound technician. He's queer as well.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, so that's really awesome. I was going to ask you, I was doing a bit of digging just before this interview, and I did see that you guys were, I'm not sure if it was like affiliated with Screen Australia or New Zealand or Queensland. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so the series was actually funded by Screen Australia and TikTok Australia.
Oh, wow.
And they had a similar initiative for New Zealand and TikTok New Zealand. So like 4 teams from Australia basically got funding to make 4 TikTok projects, and then there were also 4 New Zealand teams as well. So it was an initiative especially aimed at emerging voices and diverse stories. So it was a really great opportunity for kind of underserved communities, I guess, to have stories told about them. Yeah. So yeah, that was the initiative. It was really, really it's like very hard to get through the door and to get funding for projects like that. So I'm really, really glad that Screen Australia and TikTok stepped up and put that money on the table.
Well, that's super special.
Screen Australia is a very big get. That's amazing.
Yeah, it's even just to now be in the door and to know more about how Screen Australia works, and to have like met a lot of the team at Screen Australia now has been a huge blessing. So not only just like making the series was a big deal, but honestly for my career it was actually quite a big deal. Because now I'm like just that little bit further in the door, to becoming like, my goal is like long form TV. So yeah, I'm getting there.
You're getting there, one step at a time. It's all about the connections, right?
Yeah, everything we do has purpose, and everyone you meet is for a reason. So yeah, you definitely got that opportunity for a reason, and now you can build on that, which is amazing.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, half the time it's just about like getting your work out there and getting it seen, right? And so that's the first hurdle for a lot of emerging filmmakers, is just that pathway in, especially if you come from not a super privileged background, just making sure that those opportunities are there for people is really important. So yeah. So grateful. Could not speak highly enough about the Screen Australia team.
That's awesome.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So for the people who may not be on Queer For You space and don't know what Girl Crush is, could you explain a little bit about Girl Crushes? It's your baby, obviously.
Absolutely. So Girl Crush is a 15-part musical TikTok series which follows Jessie, who is this struggling musician whose career hasn't really taken off. She's just gone through a really bad breakup, and her ex-boyfriend was also her like writing music partner. So she's fully in a rut, and she's kind of hiding out from the world by just working a casual dead-end job at a candy bar at a cinema. And she has this musical idol who's also doing great stuff in the indie music scene called Brianna. And then one day they get a new employee at the cinema, and it actually is this woman, Brianna, who she really admires. And it's kind of like shining a light on how even musicians that you think are doing really, really well still have to work casual jobs, which was my experience, you know, trying to make it as like a creative myself. So I kind of wanted to shine a light on that. And then through getting to know this person that she idolizes so much, she actually discovers that she's bisexual, which she used to think that she was just straight. And so, yeah, this is her bisexual awakening. And it's a musical.
Yeah, crazy.
Because why not?
Yeah.
Also because TikTok is like a music sharing app, so we were like, let's make this a musical. And I love musicals, and I write a lot of musical comedy. So, yeah, it's a musical for any musical lovers listening.
Lauren is the biggest musical lover I know.
Musical lover.
Amazing.
So what inspired you to write that story as it stands today?
Well, honestly, just like my lived experience. So my bisexual awakening kind of came to me because I had a crush on a woman that was also an artist. Like, I just graduated drama school, and I met this woman who was like this amazing performer that I had looked up to for ages. And I genuinely just thought that I was obsessed with them because they were so talented. And there's always that joke of like, do I want to be her or do I want to be with her?
Yeah.
And then finally it just dawned on me one day, and I was like, wait a minute. Okay, this is so much deeper than I think I realized. And then I think I just needed to... It's like up until then, it's like I was in the dark, and then this light bulb just went on, and then it was like, whoa, oh my God, I'm so bisexual. Holy moly, how did I not realize this? And yeah, it was like, it blew open my world. So I thought that was such a funny, sticky situation where I was so dazzled by someone's talent that I didn't actually know that it was like a romantic feeling as well. So I kind of wanted to write a story about this woman who, is so dazzled by someone's talent, like idolizes someone so much that it takes them a second to realize that appreciation is much deeper than they think.
Wow.
Yeah.
The best stories are lived experience stories, though.
Well, they say
right.
write what you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
100%. And I do think like there is some bittersweetness to, those epiphanies as well. I think like as anyone coming out story kind of is, I guess, because we all grow up in such compulsory heteronormative environments. So I was also, I lamented the years of my life I missed out on where I didn't really know who I was. And so I did want to make a bisexual series, like a series that shone a light on that kind of trickiness of being bisexual and how compulsory heteronormativity affects bisexual people because in a way I honestly could have lived the rest of my life just dating cis men or like men and not even have validated those other queer experiences. And I probably would have actually been fine. Yeah. But that wouldn't have been the whole extent of my truth, and so I think that's kind of the trickiness with being bi is, I'd identify as like bisexual and pansexual, so I kind of use the terms interchangeably.
Yeah.
I think it's tricky because honestly a lot of straight people I know are like, the classic thing of like, I made out with gals in the bathrooms at the club, but like I'm straight, and you're like, you could also not be straight and you could be bi. Or like even older women I meet, like honestly speaking to some older women like a few weeks ago, and they were like, oh yes, back in my day, I hooked up with women and now I've married a man. And you're like, the gender of the person you end up with doesn't define your sexuality. Like you could still be like a bisexual woman even though you're married to a man.
Yep.
Yeah, so I guess I just wanted to write a story that, it's not a long series. It only goes for like 18 minutes total, but we're hoping to make a season 2. So I just wanted to start that journey of unpacking kind of biphobia, doing my bit for the bi community to unpack some biphobia, but also to just celebrate sexual fluidity as well and have jokes about it. Like there's so many bi jokes in there. So I just really wanted to make something that the bi community and the queer community could just embrace.
Yeah, and that's so important. I think it's a controversial opinion to have, but I have this opinion that we are all fluid because you never know who you're going to meet. Like you can 100% consider yourself straight, and then next week you could meet this person that just dazzles you and inspires you. I don't think
you can never rule it out.
You can't make these massive, bold statements about your life and go, I will never do this, because you never know what someone's going to ignite in you.
That's so true.
When we tell stories about those feelings, so it's exactly what you've done. You've told this story about how you've always thought you were straight, and then this person came into your life and they just ignited a fire in you that you didn't even realize was romantic. And it's kind of like we try and mask it by going, oh, I just am so taken aback by this person. I'm so blown away by their talent. And I'm sure a lot of people will have experienced that in their lifetime. Oh, it's just this. I'm sure it's just this.
Yeah.
It's always pushing the queer away instead of embracing it.
Yeah.
But that's because, people are afraid. Society says no most of the time. And that's why we're trying to open it up, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. Just normalize those feelings.
Yeah.
Yeah. You spoke briefly on touching base in terms of biphobia, and I guess we say bi-erasure or something as well.
Yeah.
How have you sort of dealt with that since coming out as bisexual, pansexual, and I guess dealt with that as well within the series? Because obviously, being on such a huge platform, people have something to say.
Yeah. Look, it's kind of a constant... Okay. Wow, how do I answer this question? It feels like a big question.
Break it down. Let's break it down.
Yeah, let's break it down. So how do I personally deal with bi-erasure?
Yeah.
Honestly, sometimes it's hard. Sometimes it's hard, especially I'm actually currently dating a cis man. So that's actually brought, again, another wave of like internalized, I think, imposter syndrome where you're like, oh no, I guess my queerness isn't visible now because I'm dating a man. So, and then that need to be like, I am queer, even though I don't look queer right now. And yeah, I feel it a lot in little ways around like here and there. And I guess that's actually why I wanted to make the series, is because I am very much a passionate advocate for reminding people that queerness isn't visible. People can be queer and you have no idea. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of the beauty of it as well. And I think definitely just that assumption that queerness is visible always is what kind of grinds my gears the most. And then, of course, there's like classic biphobia where people kind of, without even realizing that if they're being biphobic, will kind of be like, oh, I met this person and they said they were bi, but I thought that maybe they were just like wanting attention or whatever. And you're like,
yeah.
Oh, really? Why would you think that about someone? Because people don't actually operate that way. Like if people say they're bi or pan, like it's probably because they are.
Yeah.
Yeah, just things like that. I think, honestly, it's so much better than it was, growing up.
Yeah.
The past 5 years especially, I've seen a big difference. But also, I move in very queer spaces. Like, I live in Sydney and I have pockets of friends that are all queer. And I work in the arts. So that kind of also is like it's a very accepting industry on the whole. So I mainly more feel for my kind of bisexual people who move in other spaces like corporate spaces or like things like that where maybe it's a little bit more challenging. But yeah, that's why I wanted to make the series, to make them feel seen. And honestly, we haven't really had much biphobia online, which has been really good.
Yeah, super good.
Really good, really good. Lots of people weren't happy about cliffhanger ending.
Yeah.
Of the series, but I just had to let everyone have their feels in the comments because I was like, Ali, you wrote a cliffhanger, they weren't going to be happy about it.
Yeah.
Just let them feel what they need to feel. So there's a lot of people being like, no, why?
Yeah.
I don't want to say I'm sorry because I'm not sorry, because actually like this is part of life, and low-key this is kind of actually really what happened to me. So yeah, it's my truth. But yeah, and that's it too. Like, I'm sorry, I was about to do a spoiler there, but maybe I shouldn't do spoilers. Should I do spoilers?
You can do spoilers.
Do exclusive spoilers on this show.
Okay, maybe this is like a PSA. If anyone hasn't watched the ending, go watch the ending because it's going to be a spoiler. But I think a lot of people, and I wanted a lot of the audience members to assume that Brianna was this confident lesbian woman. And then when it kind of pans out that not only is she like probably bi, but she's like lied to Jessie the whole time. Yeah, that was a real purposeful bait and switch I did there.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry online community, but it's going to be worth it because season 2 is going to have so much good stuff in it. So
that's how you get people though. You've got to cliffhanger them in so they stay for season 2. That's what all the great shows do.
Absolutely. And to be honest, that's kind of like, people are complicated and people do things you don't expect. Mm-hmm. That's where drama comes from. That's what TV is all about.
Also, people want to resolve. People want this like nice fluffy ending, especially when you're promoting queer content, because we don't get to see that a lot. But at the end of the day, you're being true to form. Like, we don't get cute fluffy endings all the time. It has to be a true reflection. At least you didn't kill any characters off.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. And I knew that a lot of people would be mad because I think it's and rightly so. We've had so many like femme or like women loving women stories where it does end tragically, and that really is so annoying. But I guess at the same time, this isn't technically like just a lesbian story. It's like a bi story, and Brianna's identity, we'll get into it in the next season, but it is more complex than people think. And it's not the end. Like, it's not the actual finale. It's, you know, it's just the little cliffhanger for now. So yeah, so to anyone who has watched it and is sad, I love you, and it's all worth it. It'll be worth it.
Hang in there, everyone.
Yeah,
just hang in there for season 2. You knew
season 2 is coming.
Yeah. So just reflecting on your journey and coming out as bisexual, did you come out to your family as bisexual when you found out you had these feelings? Did you go through that journey?
Yeah, I did. Honestly, I kept it from them for longer than honestly I needed to. I don't really know why, but I think for so long, I think I just didn't realize how much I'd been living my life to please other people. So I think I didn't want to come out and tell my family, or I told all my friends. Like, actually, they were with me the whole bumpy ride, where I was like, I'm really in love with this woman. Does that mean I'm bi? And they were like, yeah, probably. Yeah. And I was like, I don't know though. I still think maybe not. They were like, gal, you were like, okay, like, I support you, but inside they're like, oh my God, what is so hard to understand here? But yeah, but then when I finally told I told my parents separately. So I told my mum. She was like chopping veggies, making dinner at the time, and I was like, yeah. I don't know, I was like talking about something like and then I took a hard pivot and I was like, and anyway, I think I'm pansexual, and just like dropped it. And she was like, oh, okay. And then she just like kept chopping the veggies, and then she turned to me and was like, oh, sorry, was that meant to be a big moment? I was like, no, it's chill. I've just agonized over it for a year. It's fine. And then I told my dad on the phone, actually, because he wasn't home at the time. So I told Mum. But yeah, he was very sweet. He was like, oh, honestly, I've just always thought everyone was a bit queer. And I was like, to be honest, me too.
That's how I think. That's how I think.
I think it is actually probably safer to assume everyone is queer than assume everyone is straight.
That's true, actually. I like that.
I think, like, why isn't that the default? Is that anyone is capable of anything rather than everyone is straight?
Yeah, that's quite a good point to make, actually.
I do like that point. Yeah. That's really good.
I was going to say, you didn't do the driving in the car thing that we've talked about in just a recent episode. Never make big announcements while a parent is driving a vehicle, but your mum had a knife.
Yeah, so I mean, same lead.
So there should be fear there, but you escaped unscathed, which is beautiful because you were able to make this amazing series. So that's great.
Thank you.
When you got to that point in your life where you realized that these feelings that you had for someone weren't just limited to admiration, did you then start to see parts of like maybe your childhood come up and you go, oh, maybe that was a bit more than admiration. Maybe that was, can you tell us a bit more about that?
I was going to say, like you mentioned before, you had a light bulb moment. So we like to say those are the light bulb moments that you realized earlier on. Yes.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. It was like everything. It's like in what's that movie, you know, where there's like the multiverses? Anyway, so niche reference. Oh no, Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it was like this woman and this girl that you were obsessed with in kindergarten. Like, it was like, like all those things. Yeah, I definitely, looking back, I was like, oh my God, what? Of course. Honestly, I had like just mainly my intense female friendships. I kind of had a lot of like besties, like pals that I really like clung to and were my whole entire world for like a year. And then like those things where you're like, we were totally like practically dating.
Yeah. Like innocent relationships.
Yeah. Like actually one of my friends, when we were in first year uni, we slept over each other's house all the time. I took her to every party I ever went to. Like she was my +1 to everything. Anyway, both of us have since realized that we're bisexual. But we refer to that we refer to that year of our life where we were inseparable. We call each other like our retrospective girlfriends because we were totally dating.
Yeah.
We were obsessed with each other. And when I got a boyfriend, I actually got a boyfriend, and then I felt so weird about telling her. It was like,
Wow.
like we were so dating. Oh, it was the whole thing. And then it's the same with like, I went to an all-girls school, so I was like, oh, wow, so many of those things make sense now. Like I was quite obsessed with one woman in my year. Yeah. Anyway, it all makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, wow. That is actually quite interesting, and something that we don't talk about is friendships that we kind of pass off in our life as relationships that we're passing off as friendships.
Yeah.
That we never really had the conversation and said, oh, we didn't see it for what it was at the time, but now looking back, you're like, wow, we were totally like having a moment that lasted a year, and it was more than a friendship.
Yeah, 100%. And like, because I went to an all-girls school, it wasn't so much that they were homophobic. It was more just a complete erasure of queer people from the narrative. It was almost like, it was weird. It wasn't like I was scared of being gay. It was kind of ironically the opposite. It was like, yeah, queer people exist, like happy for them, you know, but it was just, there was never though a way that they talked about sexuality at my school where they would consider that someone in the room was actually queer though. So I think that was the weirdest part about it, and maybe why it took me so long to figure it out, because I was part of the whole like plebiscite marching for queer rights and wanting marriage equality. I wanted all those things for queer people, and I just never thought that I was.
Yeah. You're like, I'm a really super, super strong ally.
Exactly. Yeah, I was like, this really affects me. Like, I really want them to have equal rights. Not me, though. No, I'm not part of just an ally.
Hindsight's a wonderful thing.
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
Oh, my God. So funny. Even to this day, I think, like, sometimes I'll be like, because it's so insidious, that kind of biphobia of, like, you're faking it. Sometimes, especially now I'm dating a man, I've had a few panics where I'm like, am I a complete liar? Has my past 5 years been of realizing my sexuality being a total lie? And then I'll obsess over Renee Rapp and be like, no, you're queer, it's fine. I'll like put on my Phoebe Bridgers playlist, my bisexual queer playlist. You're fine.
You're like, I must drill it back into me so I remain in the queer space.
Yeah. I'll be like, no, you know who you are. It's just everyone else who like doesn't. Yeah, it's just all that stuff that takes a long time to unpack.
Yeah. And I think the more we drill into ourselves that sexuality is a spectrum, like you can sit anywhere on a giant spectrum. Like Lauren and I go down the Reddit wormholes at 3 a.m. and there are so many people struggling with the fact they've dated a man their whole life and now they suddenly have a crush on a woman and they have this like immense need to label themselves, and it's like, just chill. Like it doesn't matter what the label might be. You just need to live your life, be authentically you, and the bottom line, you need to be happy. And
100%.
That's what matters the most. Who cares about the label? Sexuality is a spectrum. You just need to be happy on that spectrum.
Absolutely. That is so true. And like labels are just words, you know, words are just, language is just a tool that we use. And so if it's helpful to have a label, then go for it. But if you find it limiting, like, don't worry. Yeah, as you say, it's a spectrum and you are totally valid as you are.
Yeah. So take us back to before Girl Crush. What made you want to be a writer? What got you into drama?
Well, I loved acting all my life and performing and singing as well. And so honestly, I actually never considered myself a writer. I always just thought I was a performer, that's it. And I graduated drama school and it was really hard to get any roles and not a lot of work in the industry, to be honest. Like it's hard to kind of break through. And so, but by that stage, I'd been on a lot of indie filmmaking sets, making short films. And I started to really quickly kind of piece it together and be like, oh, okay, so you just need this and this and this and this, and then you can make your own film. That makes sense. So then I just started to get together with a few friends and we just started writing. I don't even think we kind of knew formally. We weren't like, let's now commence being writers.
Right.
We just started writing. And then actually Olivia, who directed Girl Crush, we made a short film together where she wrote it and I like script edited it and then I acted in it and produced it with my co-producer Hugh, who also produced Girl Crush with me. So, anyway, we all just kind of fell into it, made this short film. It did really well. And then we just kind of kept going, and I just kept writing in my own time, writing for fun. And I would just write things that I thought that we should talk about and I thought should be on screen that I wasn't seeing. And largely it's just like Australian stories that we're seeing on screen, and things that celebrate the pockets of Sydney that I love, or, you know, the little places that you don't often see on the big screen. It's so wild when you see it, like, Australia on the screen. You're like, oh my gosh, I actually know where that is.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just kind of fell into it, and then honestly it snowballed, and some days I still can't believe that I'm a writer. I've now done a master's in screenwriting and everything, and it's like, whoa, how did I get here? But it's actually so empowering because I started on the other end. Like, as an actor, you're always the last one to receive the phone call, right? So it's like, they've got the story, they've got the crew, they've got the locations, and then they'll call in and they'll book their cast members. So you're kind of always at the mercy of everyone else figuring their stuff out. Whereas I was like, who starts the process? And I realized that you can't do anything unless you have a story. So as a way to just give myself a bit more control of my career, I started writing. I'm going to become invaluable at the start of the process.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's the number one incentive, right? You just said it's so hard to land a role. You really need to, it's such a pocket to try and break through. So as a creative incentive, you created the roles for yourself to star in, and that's how you're going to break through. It's like being an inventor. You need this thing and no one's invented it, so I'm going to do it. Like, you're going to be that pathway for yourself.
Absolutely. And honestly, I'm really inspired by, in a way, the arts is kind of, you're like an entrepreneur in a weird way. You've got to back yourself.
Yeah.
And yeah, exactly as you said. So you might as well just get the ball rolling and stop waiting around for someone to give you a green light.
Yeah. Well, as an artist, it's like you're the business that you have to invest in. And so
Exactly.
the earlier you start doing that, like, I play music for a living. I look back at where I started. I'm like, man, if only I had the knowledge that I have now. I feel like I'd be so much more ahead of that. But then you can't be mad at your process.
The journey. Yeah.
Yeah. You can't be mad at your journey because that's who you are now. And I might not have been the same person. So yeah, it's about appreciating the journey, but also creating those pathways for yourself when you feel like none are opening for you. And I think not everybody can do that. So that is absolute props to you.
Yeah, kudos to you.
For doing that for yourself and for the queer community. Because
You too.
yeah,
Thank
thanks.
you.
But you've created this amazing thing that other people who have had an experience like yourself can now look to and be like, wow, this is my experience, and I feel seen by someone else.
That's what it is. I feel like you've done such an amazing thing with the bisexual community or pansexual community. A lot of people, we don't have queer representation in general, but especially in the bisexual community kind of gets overlooked. So I think it's incredible that you've become this face of representation.
Thank you. Oh, that's so nice. I really appreciate that.
No worries, no worries. How have you dealt with the TikTok fame? Have you had like an overwhelming response?
I wouldn't call it fame. It's more like we've found a really amazing group of like loyal followers who've just really embraced and loved the show and would show up every week to see the next episode. Honestly, it's kind of like Samantha, who's in it as well. She plays Brianna. We call it the girl crush fandom. And we're just like, we can't believe that exists.
Yeah,
what?
wow.
That's amazing. Ready for the fanfic?
Yeah. Oh, the fanfics will start pouring out. Wow.
It's wild. We actually can't believe it's happening. And every day I check the account and more people are watching it, which is just so amazing. Honestly, TikTok can be such a blip. Like, you could really sink or swim. So we weren't quite sure what the reaction would be. And yeah, it's still unfolding. So it's a journey every day. But yeah, every day we get gorgeous comments from people being like, oh my gosh, I've just binged this whole thing and it's so amazing. I love it so much. And people will be like, oh my gosh, is this Australian? Like,
Yeah.
people cannot quite believe it. Some people will even be like, where can I watch is this a Netflix show? Like, where can I watch this? And I'll be like, you're watching it.
You're like, it's coming. Netflix contact.
Yeah, so it's been amazing, honestly. It's just been so special.
And because you did a hard launch, like it was such a hard launch, what did you have to make sure you had in place to make sure that was as successful as it could be?
We kind of were quite strategic with the way that we launched. So we actually partnered it with an in-person physical screening at Mardi Gras Film Festival.
Oh, wow.
So that was really special. because they actually gave us some funding to help us do post-production. So it was really like full 360 to come and like show it to that community in a special bisexual short screening. So it was amongst like all these other bisexual stories. So it was really beautiful. So we did that. And so we kind of like built up the promo on the ground in Sydney, being like, this is going to be a screening, and the same day we're going to release online. So, and waiting in the wings were just like the entire series. We made all of this promo stuff because really we only had 15 episodes, and 15 posts is like a bit of just a drop in like a huge entire giant ocean if you're releasing on TikTok. So we were like, we got to have so much promo material, and we might actually get more views on the promo material than the real episodes, but we've got to just make sure we're always feeding them back to the 15 core episodes. So, so thankfully though, because it's a musical, we released like music videos, and then we did like funny meme compilations and just all this stuff. So really, as soon as the screening happened, we were like, go. Yeah. This is not a drill. Like, oh my gosh. And then it was honestly the most flat out month of my life, because we posted like multiple times a day, every day for a month.
Wow.
And was it just you, or did you have like a team of people just hammering?
It was me, my co-producer Hugh, and then we brought on Claire, which is amazing, social media manager person. So yeah, she came on and just kind of, because we were like, Claire, we need some help. We need to fill a whole bank of content. And she was like, I'm on it. So she also made some extra teasers, and then the three of us would rotate posting.
Wow.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people don't appreciate how much goes into the behind the scenes of when you have a project or when you have something that you really want to get off the ground. Like, it's just hours and hours of work. Like, how did you manage that mentally as well?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I'm not going to lie to you. It was actually quite hard. It was the hardest thing I've ever done, but I learned so much doing it. I've just got a really great group of people around me, like such a good solid team. I definitely did not do it on my own. Like, my co-producers really, really helped me, and we just shared the load completely. And part of that was just really good communication and checking in with each other and being like, where are we at? What's the game plan? There were some days where I had to kind of tap out and be like to my co-producer Hugh, like, I actually can't deal. I'm so tired, because I had a comedy show in the middle of the release, which was who thought that would be a good idea? Whoopsie daisy. So I had to go to Melbourne to this whole comedy show, and then right before that I like flew to New Zealand to shoot a commercial that I was cast in as an actor. So yeah, there was one point where I'm in New Zealand, it was like 2 a.m, and I'm messaging Hugh and I was like, I need a break. Can you take the next 3 days? And he was like, absolutely. So just having people like that, yeah, I couldn't thank them enough, really. That, like, I couldn't have done it without them. It was such a team.
It is so much easier in life, even just to get where you need to go with support.
Yeah, an incredible support system.
Yeah, and like, that's my advice to any creatives, is just bring on people, just collaborate with people, because those people, they not only did they kind of hold me accountable in a way that I was like, okay, I am gonna disappoint people if I back out of this, and I have to keep going into the unknown. So that's great, but also, yeah, they just have your back.
That's amazing. Yeah,
much like you two with this beautiful podcast.
Oh, yeah, thank you. Yeah, I was gonna say, like, I have this like really bad trait where I'm a yes person. So whenever someone needs me, I'm like, yep. And then I cry to Lauren later being like, I've got so much on and I'm so stressed and I need you to help me, and we've got only next week's episode of the podcast ready, and then I have a mad breakdown and I cry myself to sleep, and then the next day I'm okay because Lauren's done a bunch of stuff. So
teamwork.
But that's actually such a thing too, was learning to say no to things as well, because yeah, I'm the same. It's also sometimes easy to dwindle what you're doing, going, oh yeah, I can take on your entire that thing. I'm just doing a whole entire TikTok series, but that's not a big deal. Like, I can do this. And then you're like, Ali, this is a real thing that takes a lot of time. Like, take it seriously and treat it as, you know, you're busier than you realize. And learning to say no. Oh my gosh, that's a whole thing.
I think there's a humbleness behind that though, because humble people always tend to play down their own stuff because they make other things important to them that may not be their own thing. And so that's a humbleness. So always, like, it might not always be the best to be a yes person, but it's good to keep that humbleness and keep that ego. And like, that's great.
Yeah.
that's the good ego that we can talk about, not the nasty side of it. But yeah, so there's a humbleness behind putting other people in front and saying yes all the time.
I think we also as creatives or as artists struggle to sometimes ask for help, or even just people in general ask for help and go, oh, I can make this all by myself, or I can do this.
Yeah, definitely. I think that too.
Don't do that. Ask for help.
Yeah, ask for help.
Yeah, ask for help and it'll actually be better.
Yeah.
Especially if those people share the same creative goals as you. It's so great.
Yeah. Controversial question. In Australia, we seem to find a lot of the time, especially in smaller groups and cliques, that we have this tall poppy syndrome that seems to like infiltrate all the time. Did you, without mentioning anything specific, did you come up against that at all? Was anyone like, maybe you shouldn't, or maybe that's a bit like, you know, too controversial to make a show about that? Or did you experience anything like that?
Yeah, kind of. People don't take TikTok seriously. A lot of people. They're like, what? That sounds like so novel and like, oh, you know, and you're like, don't turn your nose up at TikTok because it's huge.
Yeah.
Like, actually for TikTok to reach communities, it's like their algorithm is wild. It's so different to Instagram. Like the fact that we have found our queer community on there, it's like no small feat. So definitely people were a bit quick to maybe dismiss a TikTok series. And I guess, I think it is hard. Tall poppy syndrome, it's such a thing. Almost within myself, I can feel the voice in me being like, don't strive for too much or don't dream too big, and constantly having to remind myself that our dreams are valid and to believe in yourself isn't being, you know, cocky or up yourself. Like that's good to do. So I'm constantly kind of in that battle between being with myself.
Yeah.
Being like, no, back yourself. You can do it.
Yeah. I have those same thoughts.
I think
always.
every human being has those thoughts, especially when doing something like this.
Yeah, but I think it is a big feat to even get your friends to back you if your idea, you're telling yourself, oh, am I going too crazy with this? Am I thinking too big? You know, it's even hard to get people that are close to you across the line with you sometimes. And so then to have, like you said, you found a community on TikTok that are now over that line with you and waiting for a second season. That is such a massive achievement in a community where we experience so much cutting down of each other and tall poppy syndrome, especially I find in this country, there's a lot of that.
I 100% agree. It's a weird thing that Australia has going. I honestly sometimes just, maybe it helps being an actor, but sometimes I just pretend that I'm an American and I pretend that I have that kind of audacity that they have just to get myself to do things sometimes. Because not that I aspire to be American in every way, but like they don't mind people having ambition, and sometimes I just had to like trick myself, that I was like a different person. That was like, I can do this. But yeah, I think it is such a universal thing. Absolutely.
Yeah, we call that kind of like the celebrity persona or lucky girl syndrome, and kind of just putting that forward. And there's times where Jess and I will sit here and go, oh, we're about to do this interview, and then we're like, okay, celebrity persona ready.
Yeah, it's like deep breath, you've got this. Like, you know, you have to remind yourself we're all just people.
Yeah.
At the end of the day.
100%. And honestly, I remind myself all the time, like, lots of people in positions of power don't know what the hell they are doing.
Absolutely.
What? Like, there are some important rooms I've been in where I'm like, whoa, wait, no one knows what the hell they're doing. Oh, I'm fine. Yeah, it's just so funny. Yeah, you just got to kind of remind yourself that every day.
Yeah.
And for any creatives listening to this and listening to Ali's story, just back yourself and no dream is too big. Just run with it. Run with it. Find your people, find your connections, collaborate, get over that line.
Yes, because worst comes to worst, it's bad and no one will notice.
No.
Like, in a great way. People don't actually tend to notice. Like, if Girl Crush flopped, that's fine. No one would have noticed. But people do notice when it really works. So you might as well just
do it.
Back yourself.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's amazing.
Before we go, what's next after? So you've spoken about Girl Crush season 2, but what's next for you?
Yeah.
For me, Well, alongside having a Girl Crush season 2 in the works, we actually want to make Girl Crush into a full TV show.
Hell yeah. The fans will be happy.
Yeah. We're developing it into a full TV show, and hopefully, it would be amazing if we could get like a full-length series on screens, like an Australian queer musical on screens. That would be huge. So that's in the works. I've also am developing a feature film, which is a horror speculative fiction film.
Wow.
Which is so left of field. I know. It's like, what? I'm writing a horror film? Who is she? But it's been really fun to just like dive into a different genre. It's still got kind of some comedic elements in there. That's called Tiny House. I won't tell too much about it, but let's say stay tuned. But then in terms of me personally, I'm doing a lot more of my musical comedy now, which so as well as my screenwriting, I do like musical comedy gigs. So I've been bringing my musical comedy shows to Melbourne Comedy Festival. I just did Sydney Comedy Festival, and I'm hoping to do Adelaide next year and Edinburgh Fringe as well. So yeah, just honestly got fingers in every pie, just being like, let's do it. And I love to make a full-length musical eventually as well. But yeah. Going to focus on those 3 things for now.
Yeah, don't fill up the plate. You can't be too much of a yes person.
Exactly. Got to get at least one done before you
move on. Yeah. That's Jess's brain all the time.
Yeah, I 100% know exactly how you feel. I am such a scatterbrain because I'm like, I said yes to this person. I said yes to this person. My bucket list is like a mile long. And I'm like, one day this, one day this. I joked to Lauren, I'm like,
she sent me a meme. She sent me a meme yesterday or this morning. You showed me a meme and she was like, look, this is my brain. And it was like, I want to do this. I want to do that. I want to do that. I want to do that. Me over here, not finished, nothing.
It's like new idea, tells everyone. And then it's like never finishes idea, just goes back to new idea, tells everyone.
So real. I mean, if it makes you feel better, I once wanted to start a podcast and I bought all this equipment. I think it's like in the bookshop over there. And I never did it. And you both did it. So here we are.
Yay.
Yeah. I think it took us meeting each other to get this off the ground, though. Lauren and I have been together a year today,
actually.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Yay. Anniversary. Happy anniversary.
Thank you.
As you know, with any creative thing that you want to get off the ground, it takes the right amount of commitment and the right brain power to put together just to even keep yourself accountable. And Lauren,
we hold each other accountable.
Yeah, Lauren she says we hold each other. She keeps me accountable for so much. I get home and I'm just like, I need to just play PlayStation. She's like, no, you have episodes to edit and you have to do this and you have to do this. And then
that was me this afternoon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
it's part of the grind. That is the challenge of being a creative. It's like, never quite. There's always more things to work on, but yeah. Keep going but it still take time.
Yes.
Have time out if you need it.
Yeah, that's important too.
Well, as we've heard, you are such a busy person. So thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us today.
Yes, thank you.
My pleasure. It was so lovely. I'm so glad we got to do this finally.
Me too.
We are so humbled to have you speak about your amazing creativity on our podcast. And we hope that everybody will go and check out Girl Crush if you haven't already. I know there's a few people we told we were talking to you and they already knew about it. So
Oh, yay!
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yay, that's cool.
But if you haven't, we'll put all the TikTok stuff in the show notes.
Yeah, we'll put everything in the show notes. And then if you can send us some of the links to like your comedy and stuff, we'll put all that in the show notes as well. That would be awesome.
Sure thing, I will.
Awesome.
I appreciate that.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for being with us, Ali.
My pleasure, Jess, and I really appreciate it. It was so nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
Yeah, nice
Till
to
next
meet you.
time.
Yes, we will definitely have to do a follow-up after the next big thing comes out.
Yes, I would love that. I would love that.
Take care and thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Have a good rest of your afternoon.
You too. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
I love what we get to do.
Whether you are a creative or not, the biggest thing you can take away from Ali is that no dream is too big. Mm-hmm. The grind is worth it. And even Lauren and I can tell you that the grind is worth it.
100%.
The hard work pays off. And one big thing that I took from Ali's chat just now is if you don't see a pathway for yourself,
make a new one.
Fucking make one.
Yeah, make one. Actually, true. Yeah, make one.
Make one. You can do it. You can do it. We made one.
We made one.
This is
We're
how
here.
you guys are all listening to us right now.
Exactly. Such an inspiring story. And I think, we get to speak to all these wonderful people. And I think that's what makes us do what we do. We love this community. We love being able to give back to the voices.
I
within
love
it.
this community. And I think what's important is, like we said in the episode, not everybody does support each other, but we're here to give you a voice and have your story shared, and we're here to support you whichever way that looks like. And we will always do that. And we thank you guys for supporting us.
Yeah, we sure do.
Because we don't exist without you.
Exactly.
We are who we are and what we're doing because of our listeners.
And we're very grateful.
So grateful. So grateful.
Well, we hope you guys enjoyed this fabulous episode of Just Gay Stuff podcast.
And this week, the music we're going to outro on is actually a song from Girl Crush series. So this is Ali singing the song Brianna from Girl Crush.
And until next time, remember to
stay gay, motherfuckers!
Been 6 months since I wrote a tune, 'cause I didn't know who I was singing to. Been 6 months since I sat down to write, 'cause I couldn't think of a line I liked. But then I met you, and you make everything fall away. Brianna, you're the one I want to see.
Thanks for joining us on another episode of Just Gay Stuff. Make sure to follow us at Just Gay Stuff Podcast on all your socials and write to us with your stories at justgaystuffpodcast@gmail.com.